Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
They're polite. I mean, they just take the time for you.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
I like the Angels for what they've done for me.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. Thanks for watching. Thanks as always to our producer of the series, Jeff Durall. We're at the Bickle Schmidt Sports Complex. Not about sports this time, but about remote sensing systems from APIS. Curtis Moore and Beau Dealy are our guests today from APIS Remote Sensing Systems to talk about drone technology and how it's being used. Let's start, if we could, Beau, with you, and tell us about the origin of the business. How did it begin?
Right. Well, so we've been doing this for about 3 years now. Kurt and I both have extensive backgrounds in geographic information systems, mapping on the computer, and then also remote sensing, being able to look at images from far away and make some decisions about them. And so, you know, we're both big tech nerds too, you know, and so it seemed like GIS technology and, you know, and Kurt's got a really extensive background in hobby RC too, and all that kind of came together, and you know, heck, let's see where we can go with it.
And Kurt, you actually graduate of Fort Hays State, right?
That is correct. I have a degree in geography from Fort Hays with courses in GIS and remote sensing. And also, my family is a farming family, so we have a little bit of agricultural background there too as well. And my dad is a pilot, so we grew up with the aviation background, grew up flying RC aircraft. So,
boy, that fits in perfectly with what you guys are doing now. A conservationist, farmer, pilot, the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And I understand from sources who shall be unnamed that you were a pretty good science student in high school too.
Well, I tried to be. Yes. Yeah.
Indeed. The services offered with APIS remote sensing.
Right. Yeah. So we right now, this is such a new technology, new industry. You kind of got to wear a lot of hats, and so you know, if someone wants us to fly for them, we'll do that. If they want to actually purchase a UAV or a drone, we can help them along with that. They want to be trained on it. Bring your own drone. We'll train you. We can do those sorts of things too. You just want a map of your ground, you know, from the air. We can do that too.
And to begin with, Beau, it's kind of a specialization as far as the ag producers, right? Where you can map your areas.
Right. Yeah. So we've actually done some flights for producers, and we've also trained some guys how to fly stuff like the Ag Eagle here. They're able to get a different perspective from about 400 foot up that they would not normally have. I mean, something like the Ag Eagle here, we can cover about a quarter section inside about 20 minutes and come back with the kind of resolution that's 3 times or better what they could get if, say, at the Farm Service Agency. And it's more current too, so yeah, that's important.
And when you're surveying those fields, Kurt, you're able to see not only the crop, but perhaps insect damage, even drought situations or stressed areas that haven't been watered by either an irrigation system or natural rainfall.
Yeah, that is correct. We do have modified cameras that we fly in these, so we capture what's called NDVI, which stands for Normalized Difference Vegetative Index. So basically, we're looking at the crop health, and farmers are able to make decisions based upon areas of the field that may need some more help than others.
Kurt, you also were, or Beau, at Science Cafe which you made the presentation here a few weeks ago for the regular event at Fort Hays State University. You were also talking about the opportunity for, say, cattle producers to be able to use this, even to take a look at fences and things like that to make sure they're in good shape.
Right. So what a lot of people are calling crop scouting, we can do with something like this multi-rotor aircraft right here. So, you can get in and get real-time video and see what's going on there, or you can also do a survey with something like that, where you can monitor movements of your livestock in the field from day to day. Maybe they're feeding over here one day, maybe they're feeding over here another, and you can start to make some determinations as to why.
Jeff's going to get some close-up shots of our true drones here, but there are two different types now. First of all, the obviously very impressive one called Ag Eagle. Talk a little about that, Kurt.
Yeah, that is correct. The Ag Eagle is, of course, a wing, and the wing allows us to fly in windier conditions, and it also allows us to fly larger acreage. So we're talking roughly 320 acres max is what we'd like to push with this, but usually quarter sections is what we like to fly with this one.
What does it have on it?
This has basically a co-pilot system that is connected to a 4G network. So as we're flying, we're capturing imagery and we're uploading it into the cloud, basically a computer system. And what we're doing is we're stitching imagery as we're flying. The co-pilot also programs the autopilot, so the mission is pre-programmed into the wing. So from takeoff to landing, the whole flight is totally automated.
And propeller at the back. You have control of steering if you need it. Is that right?
That is correct. I do have a transmitter where I can control steering. I could take over if I have to. But honestly, the thing flies itself pretty darn good, probably better than I can. So
that was amazing, Beau, that at the Science Cafe demonstration, you said that these things are automated and actually do a complete flying job.
Right. So, part of the whole safety factor right now is making sure that when we put these in the air, the FAA wants to know that we're doing at least as good in the safety department as manned aircraft is, if not better. And so that's what we're aiming for here. And they say the number one cause of accidents with these things is operator error. And so the idea, like Kurt said, you want to make sure you have your mission plan set up ahead of time. You double check your mission plan, and then when you put this thing up in the air, you just let it run and let the computer run its course.
One of the main things you have to do, Kurt, is to make sure that there aren't any obstructions, because this is a pretty good size vehicle.
That is correct. So we want to do pre-flight planning before we ever launch this thing, because we want to know which direction it's going to come in and land, and we want to make sure that people and obstructions are out of the way, so we have a successful landing with this thing.
Now, Beau, with the Ag Eagle, though, it's a larger unit, so it requires a little bit more setup and launch, doesn't it?
It does. There's actually we don't have it with us today, but there's an 8-foot aluminum launcher that we put this thing onto, and then it's got a sensor inside of the autopilot that when we launch this thing, it's smart enough to know that, yes, I'm being hurled through the air at 35 miles an hour, and it's time to start the propeller up. And so yeah, I mean, you need a little bit more setup to do this, and also, unlike a multi-rotor, you need a place to land this as well. So that's part of what makes the Ag Eagle good for agriculture is we got plenty of room to take off and land with this thing, and likewise cover the acreage that we need to.
Now, Beau, as far as the Ag Eagle goes, what kind of conditions would be suitable for launch or would restrict the launch of it? Wind, that type thing.
Well, we don't recommend it, but we have launched this thing in a wind advisory before. This will take a lot of wind. The Ag Eagle likes to fly in a little bit of a breeze. Honestly, today it's gorgeous out, and we'd probably like just a little bit, 10, 15 miles an hour sustained would be really good for this. The Ag Eagle really thrives in this condition. It's got the right weight. It's got the right airframe. Something like, optimal conditions on this, 10 to 15 miles an hour is really pushing the limits of what we can do in a multi-rotor.
And the Ag Eagle, once again, is pre-programmed and pre-controlled.
Right, yeah. So part of the mission, setting up the mission is we'll just get we'll get some pre-flown aerial photography, like Google Earth or something like that, and we'll actually just draw a grid or a fence around the area that we want to fly. After that, we also tell it what camera we're flying and how high we're flying, and then we let the computer calculate the mission plan past that. And then we just monitor to make sure that everything continues. Batteries, airspeed, ground speed, just GPS signal, all those things, and make sure that we're flying safe. And if any of those parameters start to fail on us, the aircraft will have an opportunity to bring itself home. And if we don't like that either, then we can go ahead and bring it home. There's lots of fail safes in this.
And for setup time, about how long a time frame we talking about?
To fly a quarter section with an Ag Eagle turnkey setup to tear down, it's probably going to take you about an hour.
All right. Now, all right, the Ag Eagle is the larger of the two units, but the one that maybe is more familiar to most of us, I guess, is the little rotor vehicle. Kurt, tell us about that one.
Well, the DJI Phantom here, the multi-rotor, is a lot handier for just taking off and landing really quickly, and also landing in tight places as well. We can't cover as much acreage with this because the only source of lift is from the prop itself, not like the wing. The lift is from the wing. So it's using a lot more battery power, but the camera is integrated into the drone, and we can see the images. Depending on what app we're using, we can see the images in real time, or we can program the mission, and it'll fly itself, similar to what we do with the Ag Eagle wing. It actually is using the same software to program the mission.
And set up and take off for this one, what are we talking about time-wise?
Setup is not long at all. We're usually about 5 to 10 minutes, and we're in the air. And you could fly usually about a 20-minute mission, and then you're essentially done after that. It comes and lands itself.
And the battery's generally about 20 minutes then in usage?
Yes, about 20 minutes per battery. We do have the capability to fly a mission, come back and swap out batteries, and continue a mission if we want to fly a larger area.
And what about conditions then for flying the smaller drone?
Typically, we like light winds. Like today is a perfect day for the multi-rotor. Anything over 15 mile an hour is probably a little bit too much for the multi-rotor to handle.
Mm-hmm. So. Beau, I noticed that on top of the little four-propeller drone here, there are numbers. This is a licensed vehicle, isn't it?
It is. These are licensed aircraft. We've actually had to get our aircraft registration from the FAA. We actually have one for the Ag Eagle too, but we just got it back from the shop, and we need to put stickers back on it. But yeah, there's a few steps that we need to go through to make sure that we're flying within the graces of the FAA and keeping things safe in the national airspace. Right now, it's required that we have what's called a Section 333 exemption from the FAA. There's a lot of things that are required of manned aircraft that obviously you couldn't do with a drone. One of the things is those particular numbers right there need to be about a minimum of 6 inches tall. Well, obviously that isn't going to happen here, and so that along with keeping the operator's manual in the glove box, I mean that isn't going to happen with one of these. So we have to ask permission of the FAA to not do the certain things that are pertinent to unmanned aircraft. And so once we've been approved on our Section 333, we've asked the FAA what we can fly. Then we have to go again and ask them where and how we can fly as well. And that's called a certificate of authorization, or a COA. We're flying right now under what they call a blanket COA, which allows us limited access to the airspace. If we needed a more broad-based access to the airspace, we'd have to do like what K-State Polytechnic's doing. They actually have a blanket COA to fly the state at a higher altitude than we do, which is pretty impressive. They've worked really hard to get that sort of thing. And then beyond that, making sure that you've got that N number, making sure that you've got that license if you're going to be flying for commercial purposes. It's all important.
Quite a few hoops to jump through.
Yeah, it was a heck of a year last year doing all the paperwork. I never thought we were going to get back in the air again.
Now, the question that a lot of people want to ask is, how does this drone, the smaller one, the four-propeller drone, differ from, say, the hobby drones that are apparently exploding in popularity? Kurt?
Honestly, this is similar in a lot of ways. In fact, this DJI Phantom in particular can be bought by a lot of hobbyists and is used by a lot of hobbyists. The difference that we take is we actually use a different app to fly this that allows us to program this and actually fly missions and capture imagery and do a survey essentially with this. So we are using a different application. It's a basically it's a different service fee that we have to pay either monthly or by the year to be able to do the surveys, and we do offer to resell that as well. It's called Drone Deploy. So that's what we essentially use to fly this.
Now, as far as costs go, the Ag Eagle is I had a figure of 17,000
with training. Yeah, that's what it was for the Ag Eagle Rapid. There is a new version of the Ag Eagle coming out, and it's going to cost a little bit more. But new features, lighter weight, that sort of thing. We're still getting word on what all those features are going to be. But yeah, I would expect if you're going to fly something like the Ag Eagle, be sure to be saving a little bit.
And of course, with the advancing technology, the new one is going to have more bells and whistles. Probably.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about a lighter, stronger airframe. We're talking about even easier to use than last time. Different cameras, being able to support different bands of the near infrared to make the crop health maps that Kurt was talking about. It's a chunk of change to get into it, but we're hopeful that the regulations coming in will allow people to actually form a business model around those, because honestly, with a lot of the farmers and the agronomists and co-ops that we've sold Ag Eagles to over the last few years, their biggest question has always been, how do I form a business around this with the lack of regulation? Well, now hopefully this summer we'll start to see some regulation, and then they can actually justify the cost and get their return on investment on a really, you got to think about this before you buy it,
We're talking with Beau Dealy and Curtis Moore from APIS Remote Sensing Systems on our Community Connection, and we'll have more coming up on Eagle Community Television.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
And the Angel Care nurse comes to see me once a week.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
Angel Care has helped to stay home.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
Our Community Connection continues with Curtis Moore and Beau Dealy from APIS Remote Sensing Systems. First of all, this name APIS, where'd that come from, Beau?
Well, Apis is the genus for the honeybee, Apis mellifera. And so if you know anything about honeybees, that's the Kansas state insect. And, when you think of bees, you think of drones. And here we've got some drones. And I actually have a little bit of experience and background in biology. I spent some time in grad school actually studying insects too, so that whole bug connection really kind of worked.
The biological sciences, GIS and such plays in a big way as APIS remote control sensing systems. Well, the wind's coming up a little bit. Are we getting too windy to fly the little four-rotor drone, you think, Kurt?
I think at this point we should be able to fly it, yes. It's not windy.
So Jeff's going to be able to put some shots of what this drone will actually see when they fly it. But let's talk a little bit about the safety considerations that have to be done. You can't just take one of these things and just take it out and start flying it, can you?
That is correct. You need to follow basically some hobbyist rules and some of the rules that the FAA places as well. So we don't want to fly this over a crowd, of course. We don't want to fly it beyond line of sight. And we got to take into consideration battery life and things of that sort. We don't want it to fall out of the sky and injure anybody.
Now, we talked about the Ag Eagle and its cost. What would one of the four propeller drones cost approximately?
Approximately $3,000 roughly for the multi-rotor that we have here, and that includes basically all the batteries and accessories and a kit that combines it all in a roller cart.
What would be necessary for an individual who would want to buy one of these? I'm thinking Jeff Durall at the present time, and to begin to fly it.
Well, you know, a hobbyist, they can fly as they wish. They're under different rules and regulations than anybody who's flying these commercially. So Jeff could go ahead and purchase one of these, and then you might want to get online and review some of the flight characteristics of your particular drone, and then also, you know, definitely read the instructions on flying these things safely.
All right, now for setup and flying, what do you need to do, Kurt?
Essentially, all I have to do is hook my phone up to the transmitter, pop in my battery and turn it on, and then I'll have to open a specific app, and then I could go ahead and fly the drone.
Well, now, we talked about agricultural applications for using the Ag Eagle and the smaller units as well, but there are other applications that you've seen and can do with APIS, right, Beau?
Right. So, you know, we specialize in aerial survey. So, you know, just because we can monitor farm ground from the air doesn't mean that we can't do anything else either. You know, if you're looking at residential survey or commercial or industrial survey, you want a shot of some property before and after to be able to see things. The cool thing about the way that we do survey, it's more than a picture. It's actually a georeferenced image that you can get counts and amounts from. We can actually measure and quantify from it. If you have a pile of gravel, we can actually fly over that pile of gravel and actually get the volume, calculate the volume from that gravel. We can tell you how many acres are damaged in a field after a storm, so we can calculate loss events. We actually see in the future, not too distant future, you know, people are going to have drones in a sort of information arms race. I mean, you might have your crop adjuster out to be able to fly, and what his drone says on the measurement might be different from what your drone says on the measurement. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's entirely different from just getting up there and just shooting a quick picture of something, because the next question is, well, that's a picture, it tells you a little something. Well, you know, how much of that something does it actually tell you? We need to be able to quantify that, and that's where that measuring, that true survey is important.
And finally, for both of you here as we close before the actual flight of this four-propeller drone, Kurt, what do you think is the future here of this type of technology?
Well, they say that if you equate the drone revolution to the computer revolution, we're in the early 80s right now. So there's a lot to be, there's a lot coming down the pipeline, so to speak, with drone technology. So I think we're just on the cusp of a great future with the use of drones.
And everything that comes out is going to be advanced to that technology.
I would certainly think so, yes.
Beau, what would you add?
Well, I'd say that, like Kurt says, the technology is only going to get better. We're in our infancy right now, and you know, as things get smaller and things get smarter and more aware of their surroundings, we're only going to see better things come out of here. I would also mention that, you know, that if as far as the hobbyists go, we really encourage folks to get out there and experiment with this technology, but also they need to know the rules as well. There's actually a website that the FAA has put up with some business partners called Know Before You Fly, and you can just Google that and know before you fly, and then it'll tell you whether you're going to fly as a commercial operator, whether you're going to fly as a hobbyist or enthusiast. It'll just lay out the rules for you so that you know that everybody's flying safe.
Kurt, I'm going to turn this over to you now to set up the little four-propeller drone to get ready to fly it, and then Jeff will take some pictures of what it's actually seeing.
Okay. Basically, what we're going to do now is just go ahead and hook up my phone here.
And it's got a little slot there for the phone. It adjusts up to the size of phone. Now, is there an app on your phone then that...
That is correct. I have an app from the DJI manufacturer to actually fly the drone, and calibrate the sensors, and all of those things that we need to do, like pre-flight checklist type of things.
Oh, you're going to want the orange one. Got two cables on here. We got, depending on your phone, we need to plug in differently.
This is actual controller. That's kind of like a joystick controller for some of the hobbyists.
You're right. Just like the hobby RC stuff, that's our fail-safe. If we're going to pre-program missions, then that's our fallback. If we're going to hand control or hand fly this thing, then that's your direct control, and then your everything's augmented by the. Hey, don't forget your your gimbal clip there. But yeah, I mean, we've got we've got an augmented control with that smartphone, and the app allows us to better monitor and fly safer.
He just inserted the battery. Is that what was it?
Yeah, that's what he did, and the battery's intelligent. It actually monitors things like how much time the thing can be in the air. If you leave the battery charged for too long, the battery will actually discharge itself to make sure you don't want hot batteries sitting in your basement. There's been a lot in the news lately with LiPo batteries, like what fly on drones and fires and hazards, and we want people to store those safe as well.
Well, now we see at the very bottom there the little unit that started moving there after he got installed. Is that the camera?
That's the camera and gimbal unit. That's one combined thing. That whole silver thing sitting on there like that. It's got motion sensors inside of it that allow us to allow the actual multi-rotor to wobble a little bit, but the camera stays fixed.
So it's kind of like some of the handheld larger cameras that are used in television work.
Absolutely, and actually on some of the larger units, they're actually making handheld gimbals that you can take the camera pod off of the UAV and put it on there and actually run around with it too. So those two markets are starting to converge and blend now.
Amazing. Okay, Kurt, what's going on now?
Well, essentially what we're doing is the camera is going through calibrations. We'll have to calibrate the sensors on the drone, the electronic compass, and so forth. And also, it's warming up. It's going through software checks. So right now, we're waiting on that to complete.
Okay. And about how long does that usually take?
Usually, it doesn't take too long, just a few minutes. But it's a little bit chilly out here this morning, and it's been sitting on the table, so it wants to go ahead and warm the system up. So it tells me now it is safe to fly. So I will want to calibrate the compass here.
So we got to do what's called the compass dance now with this thing. So what Kurt's going to do is he's going to spin this in a counterclockwise direction in order to calibrate the compass, and it'll tell him with the lights on there and on screen. It'll tell him when the compass is calibrated and it's safe to fly.
Oh, is that what the lights are on the bottom of the individual wing area?
Yeah, the lights actually tell you a bunch of things. You'll see that the lights are actually configured much like any other manned aircraft is. We got red in the front, green in the back, and they actually give you different signals as you fly.
Wow. So essentially it's ready to fly now, so I will go ahead and go out and place it in the grass, and then we can take off.
All right. So he places it out most any place works?
Well, we want to make sure that we actually have a clear enough area and away from obstructions. The GPS on there will allow it to keep level flight for about 20 to 30 feet in any direction as far as what's accurate. I mean, GPS accuracy can vary depending on the number of satellites, but yeah, we like people to keep their distance when we put that thing up because it's got 4 spinning propellers on it.
Well, now the height, is that regulated? Is there a certain height that it cannot go beyond?
Right. For hobby use, the ceiling right now is 400 foot. That's where the FAA would like you to stay under, because most of the manned aircraft flies well above that. Now, there are exceptions to those rules, obviously around airports or where you might have medevac helicopters, or perhaps where someone's crop dusting. So it always pays to know your airspace and to talk to the folks that are flying around there as well.
Well, here at the Bickle-Schmidt Sports Complex, where we're doing our Community Connection program, we've got a basically unrestricted view. There's no obstruction here that would cause any problems for you, is there?
Right. Yeah, no, we're far enough away from the airport, and we're going to be flying pretty low today, just 100-foot tops off the ground. So, and there's nobody around here. We're not flying over any crowds, and so this is about as safe as it gets.
And that was one of the things with the ag situation, is that you can use that because you can fly over crops, you can fly over cattle, and it doesn't cause any problem.
Right, yeah. So you're flying over the land with the permission of the landowner or the operator. And as Kurt's fond of saying, cattle and corn don't mind if they're being watched. So the privacy concerns really aren't there.
Well, let's go over to Kurt and make sure that everything's in place. Are we coordinated and ready to go now?
We are ready to go, so I'm going to go ahead and take off here.
This particular aircraft has the DJI Go app with it. You just download that from an app store. then you're able to operate it. It's actually critical to have for the use of the aircraft. So, if you're going to fly more under, do something more advanced like survey, then we can also use what Kurt mentioned, the drone deploy app. And so it's just a simple matter of switching apps to be able to get a different performance out of the aircraft.
We got a little bit of a breeze,
We
but
did,
it doesn't seem to be minding it at all.
Right, it held its place, but it also recognized that the breeze was a little bit more than it wanted to handle, and then it actually gave him notification to bring it back down.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's hard to wreck these things unless you're telling it to do something that it doesn't want to do.
So it can kind of pretty much take care of itself then, basically.
Yeah. Well, that's part of it, but there's a lot of fail safes that you have to check before you get it up in the air. Essentially, if one of those props go out, what you have is a flying rock. That's the thing about the multi-rotors. Whereas this, if we have a problem here, then we can kind of glide it in. But yeah, with the multi-rotors, that's certainly an issue.
But pretty dependable piece of equipment.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're doing your safety checks and inspections and making sure that everything's a go before you put it up in the air, just like a real aircraft, then yeah.
APIS Remote Sensing Systems with Curtis Moore and Beau Dealy and our Community Connection. Thanks for watching.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
And the Angel Care nurse comes to see me once a week.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
Angel Care has helped to stay home.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.